So did Rachel mention whether she was coming or not? She's got a question. Is she on her way? Has anybody got a number or anything at all? Could somebody go on to see if she can get her? She has got a question that she's going to ask.
Does anyone have my number?
I remember. I'll get her.
Can you go and get her?
No.
Just give her a quick call and see if she's on her way.
Yeah.
Yeah, hot day.
It's been a very hot day. I think everyone's just rain.
Who else is there was going to ask a question? Natasha as well. Is Natasha on her way?
Oh, they're on their way.
Let me just go and find her. I don't want to start there. Here we go. Well, we can just wait and try to do Great, should be coming. Come and sit down in front. You see it's in the other. You got your still camera? You have your still camera with you? Oh, I've got a couple of our steering wheel members. Hi, welcome. We're going to start in a minute. Are they coming as well? Oh, great. Have you got a camera? What? Let's just wait for the
Right
more
time.
teachers tonight.
You have Dr. Rizal's wallet with you? Oh, okay. Where is she? Okay. If not, I think I'm supposed to get it from her so that I can take it back with me. Thanks. Just later I can just give her a text. Thank you.
Couple more chairs. It's great to see everybody here. Ideally, we were thinking about doing this outside, but it's been too hot earlier and now it's raining a little bit. And we would ideally like to arrange it in a kind of a bit of a circle, because this is it looks like a lecture here, but really this is a collaborative meeting. It's your meeting, as you know, and we're your guests. So it looks a little bit like we're the teachers, but we're not in this situation. But I'll wait for that for a briefing before we get started. Would you mind having a go with the video? I've just got it on a fixed. I was just going to fix it just so that we've got a verbal recording of everything. But it would be good if you can get.
Okay.
People are asking questions. Is anybody else coming? Is Samantha and?
Just get started.
Okay, we're going to make a start then. If you'd like to. Okay then, let's make a start. I'm just going to let set a little bit introduce the setting, and then I'm going to hand over to our chair for today. As I said, we're all guests at your second meeting of the Green School Committee. I was also a guest at the first one, so I saw it there's more people now than there was at first. There's a lot of interest from all of the students. All of the students at CILC are members by default of being part of CILC. They're committed, as is the organisation, to making CILC a green school and to reducing the impact of CILC on its local environment as well as other issues. I've attached these are the minutes. Because it's only our second meeting, I've done these on paper. Obviously, we don't want to waste so many resources. So the minutes of all the meetings are on our shared folder, which all the students are a member of. And Mr Lasal in the process of getting involved in that. So all of the information about the ongoing things that happen at the meetings are all on there. Also, we've got a website with information on it as well. So I'll hand over to Farah to begin with.
Okay, very good very good evening to all. Today will be our second meeting, which we will be discussing and debating and asking questions to Encik Farid, Mr Lasal, and Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. what?
Yeah.
Diaga. As you all know, last week our meeting was mostly about getting all the students to join in our eco school club thing. So we'll now be having, we actually planned some questions for our special guests. So first question please.
So let me just to go through the formalities of it. We've got because we are doing this as the reason we do it as a formal committee, and we discussed last time, is it's in order to make the matters and the business of the committee done to be. It makes everything done efficiently and effectively to have it as a meeting. It might seem a bit formal, but it helps to make sure that everything's done in time and that everybody who has a question has the opportunity to do it. Every action that's decided by the committee is then done and reported back to the committee. So that's kind of a function of a committee. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit about that as we're doing it. So we're doing well so far. I'm just going to keep us on track with that. So one of the second things on the agenda is just matters arising. These are things that we always have in the meeting, and it's the things that happened in the last meeting that were actionable. So there was nothing there. Apologies, Claudelia, Iman, Melissa who's doing and Melissa who's doing swimming, and Emma Jane.
Claudelia, Iman, and Emma Jane are right now participating the Chabaka Voices in concert. So they can't come.
Yeah, so they're giving their apologies for this meeting. But they are, Claudelia and Iman have been nominated as proposed treasurers. So
Secretary and treasurer.
So the notification of election officers. So at this point, if anybody wants to think about becoming the treasurer or secretary, as we discussed at the last meeting, you can put your name forward. You don't need to be nominated. Anybody can just put the name forward, and we'll do that after this meeting, and we'll have an election by email, which I'll let you all know about by the next week. So far, we've got one nomination for Farah for secretary, and we've got 3 nominations for treasurer: Suba, Iman, and Claudelia.
No, Suba, Iman, and Claudelia are nominated for secretary as well.
Just for secretary as well. So we'll publish that kind of information later on, but it's open for anybody to join in with that, but we'll only have one of each. If you are nominated, you can be the secretary or the treasurer for up to 3 consecutive, you can be elected 3 times in a row. I just need to make sure all this kind of stuff's done so that we're clear. So Farah's been the chairperson today. Okay.
If any other details of the elections, we'll just do it after the questioning. So just come to me for anything. Thank you. We'll now start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Farah. So I'll just introduce our guests. We've got Mr. Farid Hamza, who everybody knows, I think, and who is the lead architect on the build of CILC. I'll just introduce him as that and give him an opportunity to say a little bit about himself.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
We started designing CLC about 4 or 5 years ago, and when we started designing the school, there were many aspects of sustainability and recycling and environmental concerns which we're trying to incorporate in school design.
and that is why you see a lot of buildings closely placed together. But I think we can go on further about these aspects later on. Do you know my background or?
Just a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm a former Chapakan, and I've come back to serve at the school as well because of my family and also because I love the school.
Okay, thank you. This is Mr. Thiago Nadeson from the World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah, I represent an international NGO which has been in Malaysia for about 40 years. I'm 30 plus, coming to 38 to be exact. Started in 1972. So we have a strong involvement with the Ministry of Education, involved in introducing environmental education within the formal education system. And we are working closely with the Ministry of Education as well as Department of Environment and Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment on how to improve the environmental behavior of our students, teachers, and whoever associates with the formal system. Right now, we are looking forward for Ministry of Education to introduce environmental education policy within the national education system. And also, we are working with the Ministry of Education in introducing an environmental education model. So that too our major project, and this eventually will become our major project as well. The project that I'm talking about is a project founded by Foundation of Environmental Education. This is in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and they have participating schools from many countries around the world. So in Malaysia, WWF will be the national coordinator to promote this program, and Chempaka is the first school. CILC will be the first school to involve in this, and we are very grateful to Chempaka because they are sponsoring our membership to become a member of FEE, and eventually that will become our foundation to move forward to other schools, private as well as government schools.
Thanks, Mr. Lasal.
Oh, okay. Let me stand up first. Because it's quite dark and people cannot see me. Okay, my name is Lasal. I started out working as a mobile unit supervisor since 1976. I think I was not born yet. And I used to go to schools, give talk, exhibition, take the students out into the field. So it's both theory and practical. I did that for the last 20 years. I've been to most of the places. And later when Tyagarajan joined, I joined his team. And now we are focused more on introducing EE into the existing curriculum. So I work with under Tyaga, and he's a team leader, and we have two more staffs. One newcomer will be coming in. And basically we're looking at how EE can be infused into the existing curriculum. That's most important. As what Mr. Tyaga said, is looking at EE policy and environment and youth project. Environment and youth project is actually establishing a model school. Basically, in a nutshell, this is what I do. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Should we move on to the question? So Sylvia's got the first question. If we could address the questions to Mr. Farid first, and then to
Good evening, everyone. Farid, as a lead architect on CILC building, how do you think we as a community can contribute to reducing the school's impact on the local environment?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody. I think first of all we need to ask ourselves what the impact of the school has on the environment and the site that it's been built from. Basically, any building that you put on any site is actually quite stressful to the environment because it affects water, it affects the waste management, it affects the actual soil that the building sits on. Personally, as a user, as a student in the school, because you guys stay on campus all the time, there are various ways of controlling how much pollution you cause at site, and that can take the form of the waste that you produce in your rooms, the rubbish that you actually put in your waste bins. Also, the impact that the building has on the environment will also include your consumption of electricity and water as well. So I think these are very basic things which our parents have taught us even in our own homes. When you leave a room, then you just turn off the lights, turn off air conditioning, and I'm sure you've noticed nowadays where toilets have two functions, a half flush and a full flush. So you know when to use those. But these are small steps that we all can take to reduce the building's impact on the environment. Some people say that because it's just one person, it may not make a difference, but because everyone lives together in a community, it does make a slight difference to the environment and to the building itself. Apart from looking at air conditioning and water and electricity and rubbish, pollution also takes on other forms as well, and that includes noise pollution, which probably comes from, I don't know, late nights with your friends, and you have music on, that sort of thing. So that would affect as well. A lot of people forget the bits where you don't actually see or hear, but that will also affect the environment as well. That's why it's very important that we've actually got door closers on most of the doors here, so the aircon doesn't escape to the corridors, and we can still keep the buildings cool. The longer we keep doors open and windows open, the more stress you impose on the air conditioning systems, and it needs to work harder to cool down the rooms. So literally, you're actually cooling down part of Banda Handstand if you leave one door open or a window open, and in turn, it will also cause the air conditioning to conk earlier. Okay, I think that should cover your own personal contribution to the building's impact.
Thank you.
Do you want to address that question to the art as well?
Yeah. And I would like to see from these two angles. One is reversibility, as well as another one is severity. The reversibility means that the level of impact that the building is actually causing to the environment. Basically, it's irreversible. Once building is done, unless you demolish and move that and then let the thing to go on its own or to grow on its own, then it's irreversible. I mean, it's reversible. So one angle is once you build the building and all those things, the level of impact is actually irreversible. The other one is severity. Severity refers to the level of damage. Level of damage. So level of damage is all depends on us. How well that we can control the damage. Like what Mr. Farid said there. Your waste management, usage of water, usage of energy, purchasing policy, and all those things will help in terms of reducing the damage. So if we look at from that angle, we have a lot of responsibility and roles to play on at our respective activity that we are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good evening to Mr. Perry. Could you tell us about the vision behind the design of the CILC building? And what do you think should be the scope of the environmental review to be carried out by the Green School Committee?
Thank you, Natasha. Good afternoon. Well, when we designed CILC 4 or 5 years ago, the main idea was to create a comfortable and beautiful school for students. And we looked at problems we had in our previous campuses, and we tried to address these issues. What was important was to make sure that any student, any girl in this case, who wanted to travel from one part of the building to the other wouldn't be hot and they wouldn't be wet if it rains. So it was important to link all the buildings together. By doing that, we create a comfortable environment for the kids. Apart from that, we also wanted to make sure that landscaping was integrated in the school designs, and that's very important because for any building or any development with very little landscaping, you create heat pools around the campus or around the site. Heat pools are concentrated areas of heat which are generated by the surface of the earth. So basically, if you don't have any planting or you don't have any water feature anywhere around the school, then that will raise the temperature of the entire campus and it makes it a bit more comfortable. That is why it's important to actually have turfing, grass, and planting around the school. Apart from that, we have also formed the buildings to have courtyards in the center. So if you notice the admin building and the academic building, I think this is called the school building, and the main building, and the dining hall, we all have pockets of landscape within the building itself. This has been proven to lower the temperature of the surrounding rooms which face the courtyard, and this in turn will make the buildings more comfortable. Apart from that, we also looked at orientation of the buildings and various strategies in bringing, in keeping away sunlight from the inside of the building. So you see a lot of overhanging shades around the buildings. You see that we have also designed the windows that you don't actually get sunlight into the center of the room, and this controls the amount of heat that's absorbed in the building itself. We also make sure that we place a swimming pool in the center of all the campuses because such a large body of water within buildings will also cool down the buildings and the school as well. So to recap, it's orientation, materials of buildings that we've used, placement of buildings as well, and the use of landscaping, the use of water. These are the different aspects and components of the building which we felt was important to make it more sustainable and to make it more comfortable for everybody to use. Now, looking at the scope of the environmental review and action plan, personally I feel that a lot of recycling programs that we have around the country and around the world, they start off very well. You know, everybody gets very excited, and after a while it dies down. So I feel that it's very important to have a very good follow-up program, and it's very important to have a consistent attitude towards recycling. Even when you go shopping with your parents, it's good practice to bring your own recycling bag so you reduce the amount of plastic that we use in the environment, and this in turn will help with waste management, will help with the release of CFCs or gases into the sky in the environment. Apart from that, I think we can also look at creating awareness amongst your friends. Possibly another thing that we can use is to create a homepage on Facebook and see how you can create awareness and spread the word. I do believe there are already environmental pages out there. So if it's not too difficult to start your own page, you might want to join others and spread the word as well. Yeah. It's not easy creating a building that will satisfy everybody. Especially when there's so many users and the users stay in the building overnight. But it was important to put ourselves in the shoes of students staying indoors and see how you would react to the environment as well. I would expect teething problems along the way when you first move in, such as maybe some of the rooms may not be comfortable, or it might be too warm or too cold, but hopefully with the air conditioning system that we have installed in the rooms, they can make it more comfortable for all of you. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but we have an inverter system in the school AC system that runs around the buildings. This means that if there's more than 10 or 12 people in one room, then the aircon will fluctuate and it will cater to the number of people in the room itself. So if you only have one person staying in any particular area, then the same person will not freeze over because the aircon system will fluctuate and it will cater to the number of people in the room as well. So these sort of technological advances that you've included in some of your M&E systems, your mechanical electrical systems, will help to reduce the impact on the environment. I hope that was clear.
Thanks.
Okay. So Mr. Lasal, what do you think should be the scope of the environmental review and action plan?
Yeah, that was.
I think you should submit your design to the Ministry of Green Technology because I was quite impressed with your explanation on the overall. Let me give a bit of information on what FEE wants or for this eco school. FEE means Foundation of Environmental Education, and they have 7 steps, which is actually a compulsory step where all the participating schools have to go through. The first one is forming a committee, which has to be a mixed bag of members: students, teachers, parents, representatives, supporting staff, and all those things. So that is great. The second step is review, environmental review, and action plan. So this is quite important steps in the 7 steps that they recommended. So it's quite vital for us to understand what is environmental review and how the action plan will be part and parcel of the whole package of the eco school. I would like to share with you some of the scope that we have developed together with teacher training institutes in Malaysia. There are 27 teacher training institutes under the Ministry of Education. So in that program, we have identified about 11 areas which can be considered as the scope of environmental review. First is policy that supports the eco school. The school has to have a clear policy on how they want to support the eco school. Meaning that from few aspects that cut across curriculum, co-curriculum, water usage, energy usage, paper, landscape, waste management, pollution control, and all these things, as well as the place. It's quite a detailed kind of environmental review, where maybe I can pass it to the ones after. And which includes purchasing policy as well, like what Parag said, that what kind of material that they purchase, what kind of material that, what are the things that we are buying in everyday life in Cempaka school as a student or as administrator or as a lecturer. The other area that we can look into is how well that environmental education is infused in the curriculum activities, and then how well that environmental education is infused in co-curriculum activities. Yeah. I have a lot of explanation on that, and following that will be how well that we are managing our landscape, managing landscape as it is. Introducing some changes, some modifications to the landscape. And the other part is how well that we are using the water, our concept of water. And also another area will be energy. And followed by how well that we are using our papers in our daily teaching, in our daily usage of paper, in information that we want to put across, and apart from that, how well that we are managing our waste management, solid waste management, solid waste, and pollution control, as well as communication. When we communicate, are we communicating with less damage to the environment? Are we using more papers? Are we using emails or notice board? Yeah, things like that. And the last two will be very important in a sense that it involves how well that we are doing it as a team. Whether police students involved, or teachers involved, or support staff involved, or parents involved as well in the whole eco-school concept. So it's actually a big concept which is not so much evidence in Malaysia, but it's a big thing in UK, South Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, in fact China as well. The whole school approach. So it's all basically, whether the whole school is involved in the eco-school concept, or is just one person is excited about it, maybe that Farida or Mr. Farid or Mr. Ban is excited about it, so he's actually guiding you to do this, and you are doing this as part of the instruction that you have to comply to get certain grades or things like that. So it has to be seen as a whole school. And finally, how well that you are reaching out to the community, surrounding the school, to make a better impact on reducing the environment. So the scope, when you review that, if you look at all this area, then you'll have a better understanding of where we are. This is our baseline, where we want to go from here. So once that you understand where you are, then it's easier for you to formulate your action plan. So the action plan has to be rooted based on this finding, and realistically you have to ask yourself where you want to go in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, thanks.
Right, thank you. Who's next?
Rachel? Good evening, everyone. Mr. Lasal. How are we going to encourage recycling, and most of all encourage students to recycle? Not only recycle, reduce, but also reuse what we recycle.
Let me answer the question. I think Sri Chimpaka shouldn't just stop at just recycling. The whole Malaysia, everybody is talking about recycling. I think we should go one step ahead. We should be, instead of recycling, we should be here, not at the back here. Okay. The question is, when I was driving all the way from here, the question always comes to my mind. 23 girls and 10 or 15 staffs, how much of wastage you don't have? Don't have, I don't know. I think it's not even one basket full. If you stay one, because when I walk from the car park to here, I didn't see any papers. Either you are not throwing or the gardeners are cleaning it up, the workers are cleaning it up. So I see you are not wasting any papers. So how do you want to recycle? How much of recycling you can do? Instead of recycling, that recycling project, can I suggest another one? Very simple. How about composting? Composting, you will see tangible results. Because so much of grass being cut down, you're cutting grass, all the grass can be compost to get manure. And that manure can be used for your herbal garden. Already, okay, great. So there must be a compost pit at different stage, so that we reduce the chemical fertilizers. Okay, very good. That's why I said, if you talk about recycling, okay, let's say you collect 3 baskets of waste papers, which you don't want, you want to recycle, you can call me, I can always send it up. Even now inside my van is full of papers. Collected from somewhere, I never just throw away, or from my house, bottles, all I send for recycling. You can call me, I can come and collect. I give you a receipt, how much they give the money, I'll pass to the committee. No problem, I can do that. Okay. But I think we shouldn't just go for recycling. Every school is talking about recycling. I think we should go for composting. That would be very nice. Composting in the sense that you don't throw your fish head and chicken bones there, that attracts flies and all these things. I think fruits, skins of fruits and all these things that can be eaten, which doesn't attract all these pests. Should be fine. I think we should go there. Composting, you see tangible results rather than just recycling papers, which is too common, and how much papers are 23 girls going to come out with. Okay.
Anybody else wants to comment on that? So we'll move on. Next question.
This is the last question.
Well, we're open to the questions after it.
This is for Intake Farid. What vision do you have for the design of the outdoor areas and how do you support and encourage biodiversity?
Well, as you may be aware, outdoor areas in CILC, we're getting there. I think Datin is still putting down landscaping touches, and we have a lake at the back of the school. The lake at the back of the school is actually a water catchment area. So all the water that you see from the road and from the roofs, they're all channeled into the lake at the back. So we just finished building a pump house at the back, and we're planning to draw the water from the lake, filter it, and we plan to recirculate it around the campus as well. So this is what you call irrigation. But we've gone one step further. We've actually put in fertilizer in the irrigation system, and it's called fertigation. And this I will actually water all the plants around the school. Apart from saving electricity and water, we also are able to recycle the nutrients as well that we get from the compost. And this is done in all the schools that we have actually. So we have wood chippers in all our campuses because we're actually very heavy in landscaping. So we have noticed that we have a lot of byproducts, and we've been very keen to actually recycle and reuse the byproducts. Apart from having the irrigation system, the school also plans to have a few more pergolas and pavilions around the school as well. The whole idea is to create comfortable spaces, outdoor spaces for people to use. Do you girls use the discussion structures in your buildings?
Once or twice.
Once or twice. Is it comfortable or not really?
Truthfully, the seating is quite.
It's hard, is it? Yeah. I appreciate your feedback. I think that's quite useful to know, because then later on we'll probably issue cushions to each child, to each student. So when you want to use any of the outdoor areas, then it's a little bit more comfortable. But the idea of having these structures out in the open within a sheltered area is to give you an alternative area to study or to spend time with friends or with yourself as well. So because they're situated between blocks, it's sheltered and it's out in the open. So we're not actually using electricity to study or to use the area. It's naturally ventilated and it's free to use. So apart from building structures in the area, we are also quite keen to plant naturally shady trees that will provide green canopies around the site. So if you actually see the trees that Datin has planted, some of them have actually been designed to give you shade, especially when you walk certain pathways and you walk certain areas. You actually have trees to cover your lanes and where you're going to spend time walking through. Apart from that, we have water features as well, so that will also count towards outdoor activities. We will also have an outdoor yoga deck as well, and sails, which will also cut down solar gain and solar heat. How many of you have been to the Cheras campus? Yeah, I used to come from Cheras, but the formation of the school buildings in Cheras is different. The formation of buildings here. Cheras has very long buildings, but they're parallel to each other, so you create shade in between the buildings. And we also increase the shading devices by putting up sails and also trees again. So this is a common strategy that we practice in all of our schools that we found to be quite effective. We are continually looking at ways to beautify the environment, at the same time to make it practical and conducive for students to use. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Can I add to what?
Sure.
Planting trees alone not enough. I think we should plant local trees which have flowers throughout the year, fruiting putting trees to attract the birds and bees back to the school compound. That's very important, I think.
Yes.
At the same time, they shouldn't be damaging the road shouldn't be damaging to the roads of the building. We have to look at it. I think FREEM can help in this section.
I'm sure they can. I think we have, yeah, you're right about the root system that may be quite invasive. So we make sure that we actually plant it away from the road, or you actually pick species which do not have a very extensive root system. We appreciate your advice on the fruit plants, on the fruit trees, and that's what we've done actually. I think this campus has more fruit trees than any other campus in school in Malaysia. We have over 300 fruit trees that we've already planted. So it was Latin's idea to make sure that we had fruit trees that would fruit every year. So harvesting time would be a lot of fun actually. Squirrels and birds and absolutely not anything else. But maybe not this year, but I think if you wait until the end of the year or maybe next year, some of the trees might start to fruit. Some of the papaya trees have started to fruit already, if you've noticed. Yeah. And I think you have a row of mangosteen trees in front of your buildings. Can you recognize which trees have been planted and what fruit trees they are?
I don't recognize the mangosteen tree. But can I also say that I see everywhere the cherry trees sort of getting extinct.
We have
the common cherry. Because
4 cherry trees.
Okay, great. That's good news. Because I've been to all of pilot school, only one pilot school with cherry tree, and I asked them, where did you? No, we purposely planted to bring back the birds.
Sure. Yes. We have 4 cherry trees on the slope here actually.
Okay, good.
Maybe one of your agenda and your action plan is to identify what trees you have and see how they affect the environment, because not all trees are good for the environment, although most of them are. But you've got to see that some of the trees do have poisonous flowers or poisonous pulp, which you have to be aware of. Yeah.
The labeling of season itself.
Yeah.
Next question for Mr. Nadeson. How do you think we can design our outdoor areas to best support and encourage biodiversity?
I think a lot of information has been downloaded by the public. But I would like to add one thing here. Before we look into activities that support biodiversity, we must understand what is the need for the biodiversity. They need staying place, they need food, they need place to move around, for one place to another place, for probably mating, for probably to have that space and to create the critical mass. So that should be our aim if we want to support biodiversity. In terms of whatever structures that we are doing has to be rooted from the kind of thing. I'm quite excited to hear a lot of things that's done based on that. Fruit trees especially, because fruit trees actually source of food where it will attract a lot of birds, bees, and also insects to the family. So those are the things quite important for us to consider when it comes to designing outdoor activities. But at the same time, when we do that, we also have to think how well that it benefit us as students, or as lecturers, or as part of the community of or CILC of Jakarta. Perhaps that converting certain places as learning stations would be good as part of the outdoor areas where bring beneficial for both the biodiversity as well as us. One of the idea was thrown out just now, or in the pipeline, is creating green canopy, shade trees. Those are the good things, because you are supporting biodiversity at the same time, also meeting an objective for us to do something which is beneficial for our development. So it can be social development or intellectual development. So, yeah, so those two things are quite important.
Are there any other questions?
What does biodiversity mean?
This is one of the questions that we raised in our national survey, which was participated by 8,000 respondents from all walks of life. Bio means that whatever living is alive, and diversity means that various types of life. So it can be you and me, it can be insect, it can be bird, it can be animal. So that's why diversity is really very interesting.
Yeah. Yes, I have a question. Actually, Mr. Lasal talked about some aspects of the question that I had. Is well, actually, maybe students might not be aware about it, but actually, you can make money selling your waste. You can make money selling paper that can be recycled. You can make money selling cans, empty cans after you use them. You use the drink, and as a matter of fact, that's one of the questions that I had. Because I wanted to know how will it be possible for our committee to organize, recycling so that we can sell it. Of course, right now, as you mentioned, we don't have a lot of people on the campus and we don't use many rooms. But in the long term, I would like to know if there are any centers or agencies in the area or in KL that can provide us with the bins, recycling, because we need bins for paper, glass, cans. And maybe they can come and collect, and we can also talk about if there can be any financial compensation for that. That's in the long term. Because for now, as you mentioned, since the number of people here is still little, for now, as you mentioned, if needed, we can call you and you can come and collect whatever we have. But in the long term, I'm thinking probably starting from August 2010 when we reopen, we'll have probably a lot more people here. At that point, probably we'll need a bigger program. Of course, yes.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing. Coming from there to here, we'll be incurring a lot of carbon footprint. some other way.
Getting recycling bins is not a problem. All you got to write to the monthly STERA, the local council. The local council that collects rubbish around here. If you write to them, they will leave free rubbish bins all around. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is by, I think, Department of Environment. They also give they have colored bins. So I think it's not going to be a problem. Okay. But in the meantime, without the bins, you can always call me. I can always come and collect, and I can go and sell, and then I get a receipt for it and pay the money to you. I can get the receipt, the money for you. It's all black and white, no problem. I've been doing that. I've been doing that for nearly 5 years. No problem. Just write to the local council. I think they.
Just how often the council come around to collect?
The thing is like this. When it's full, you can always call them. Okay, but they just don't want to come just for your school. They will come, they will take note of your request and they will come maybe within the housing estate, maybe around there, a few more bins. They are not just firefighting here, they won't do such things.
One of my friends mentioned to me that they had gone to Bukit Tunku, I think that's Kenny Hills?
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago, and they actually went to a recycling counter with all of the recycling materials, and they actually got cash back on the spot. So that is something which would encourage everybody, I think, because a lot of people would think that you get money back immediately.
Yeah.
But imagine waking up in the morning, collecting all the cans in your house, the bottles, and then submit it to the recycling person, and then you get money.
Yeah, they wait on the spot. Most of them wait on the spot.
It's quite surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you don't get like hundreds of ringgit, but you get 8 ringgit for something, 8 to 10 ringgit for something you're going to throw anyway. So if you think about it that way, I mean, no one's going to give you even 10 cents if they found on the floor, right? Yeah. So to get like $8 for some cans of Coke you're going to throw away, I think that's quite amazing.
At present, those days when I sent my paper for recycling, it was 22 cents per kilo. Now this from 2 months ago, from December last year, highest in Malaysia, 39 cents per kilo. Now 39 cents per kilo now.
How much is a kilo to that? How much would a kilo look like?
It depends. In this paper, it's quite heavy. But in normal paper, like you just squeeze it, so it depends on the weight. They go by weight.
It is a stack of papers, like
no, all are standard rate, 39 cents. Okay. Even empty cartons and all these things.
Okay, so just
very, very high.
As an example, I was looking at Malay meal size. How much of that would you actually look at?
Per kilo.
Yeah.
About at least.
Okay, so
good money. 39 cents. You never got in the history of Malaysia. This first time so high. And plastic bottles, I think it's 20 cents per kilo. Tin is 40 cents. Tin, aluminium tin, 40, I think it's 40 cents.
Can I just say, one of the things just about this group is, this group is part of at Champaka we have a group, there's one main group called the CILC World Group, which is run in all of the schools. And this group is a subgroup of that. And we work closely with, we report, I mean, we're an independent group for the purposes of this accreditation that we're doing. But we send out minutes and we communicate with the CILC World Group in Damansara and in Shiraz. And Subhashini, she gave me contact with the chair of the CILC World Group, and I've had contact with them. And they're very keen to do green recycling. They already do some recycling and some green projects in the other schools. And they're very keen to see our progress and to learn from us. And there are a lot of students in both schools, and they're very keen on that. So that's another thing.
Can I add something here? Whatever we do, addressing environmental issues or trying to find a solution for possible problems that you may anticipate will happen in the future, there should be some kind of critical thinking to be applied in your decision-making process. Why that, for instance, like now, why the price is going up? If you look at the book written by, I can't remember the author's name, I was reading the other day, Flat, Crowded and Hot. He was talking about the amount of resource that they need to do up, to manufacture a lot of things that we need in our life, you know, aircon, buildings, and cars and other things. It's actually getting higher and higher because of population increased and also the variety of things that we want to use. So that has created a lot of impact on our natural resources. That's why the price is getting higher and higher. So when you do these kind of things, you're not helping yourself. You're helping yourself to get some kind of pocket money and encourage you. Yes, that is that. But the important thing is you're actually doing a service to the planet, to the earth, by putting back things that otherwise they will be housed in, or if it is we can't get it from a certain place, they will go to another place, open up, and that will put a lot of pressure to the place. It can be a forest, it can be a ocean, and things like that. So think about that. Actually, you're doing a lot of great things by doing just a simple recycling.
Yeah, I think you have to be aware of your own personal consumption. Each person can make a difference, especially if you do it, you know, with your roommate or with your class as well. So don't think that if it's just one person, it wouldn't make much of a difference. It will. Yeah.
The other thing I want to add, the other, especially batteries, lithium battery and cadmium battery and all these things. A lot of people call me and ask me, how do you want to dispose of batteries, because they are not for recycling center. So the best thing is if you collect even the handphone batteries, all old one, you can just leave it in a box or something like that. When I come here, I'll send it to Department of Environment. They have a place there. All the Majlis, local council, MPPG local council, they have a place in the headquarters. I can just throw it for you all. So just because the mercury leak is very bad for them. But so battery is also one you have to think of. You cannot put inside the three boxes, recycling inside boxes. You cannot do that. Batteries. Very important.
Thank you for
No,
asking.
excuse me. If no question, I have a question. Can I ask? Okay. This is for Mr. Farid. Sorry to. I've been thinking that how do you want to save? How do you want to start saving energy with all the students in the classroom? You are occupying so many classes. How do you want to save? One of the way I suggested for the 4 pilot schools in Malaysia is that Very simple. This month you take the electricity bill, you take note of the electricity bill. Let's say it's 1,000 ringgit. Okay, so when you go to your classroom, ask yourself, can we study without one drop of light? Ask yourself, can we study without maybe this center row, these two, just or the two end rows without light? Can you study or not? If you can, maybe what you can do is that you switch off, maybe you switch on only 5 minutes after the class starts.
Well, I could answer that. Actually, well, for my class, year 10, we don't really use the lights.
Okay.
We use the sunlight.
Sunlight, okay.
The video.
Yeah.
So I've seen other classes, they also don't use it on the lights.
Okay. So that
Just when it turns really dark.
correct. Okay. So that's one way. So so what we have done is we generally take the reading how much the electricity bill, and everybody cooperate. Let's say 10 minutes before the class over, can you switch off the aircon or the lights? 10 minutes before the class is over. So if 10 classes, 100 minutes, how much electricity is saved? So February, if you take a reading, I'm sure it's down. So you can see tangible results showing that we can save energy. All you got to do is find a leader in the class who is in charge of switching off 5 or 10 minutes. If you're not comfortable, then 5 minutes. It's okay.
We're in the process of having an awareness campaign.
Great.
Students are designing posters, and we're working with Mr. Farid as well to make sure the posters are well spotted at the right locations, along with the bins and recycling bins. So building up awareness, and we're going to feed a lot of this stuff back into that process, and we'll show you some of the posters.
Great. Yeah.
And not just the posters, we'll show you the results.
Yes, I will show that. The other question also for Mr. Farid is that how can we harvest rainwater, and that rainwater can be used for maybe swimming pool filtering. Instead go to swimming pool because we are just swimming, we are not drinking. Or the rainwater can be used for, like say, the fountain there, something like that. I don't know, because if you maybe we can. I show you this one first. Sure. Can I check? Can we just make a sequence? See this one. It's just 10 slides. This is the orphanage. They call it the Pure Life Society in Pucho. And what they have done is that they harvest rainwater and how they use it. So I went around there. They had a tour. I went down there and took these photographs. We look at it, see how they do. Okay. And this is it's about 4-story. The ground floor is the bottom. So you see all from the top, all the rainwater is channeled back into the tank like this. That's not what you're seeing there. Okay, it's channeled back straight there, and then goes down here to this, and then goes into the tank. Each tank is interlinked, and extra water will flow back, and they use a pump, a special pump. They use a pump because the water coming from the roof is at this level, and then this water has to be channeled back to the first floor, third floor, and fourth floor. Okay, of course you see more current, but let's look at this way first. See how this channel? The water runs there, and then it goes into the 2 tanks. I think 1,000-gallon tanks these are, and all the extra water runs down to the small outlet there. Extra water overflows here. See, interlinked both the tanks. Again the same fast shot. And during that tour, I actually saw the maid using the water for mopping the floor. After the function was dirty, she was using. So, you see, and that tank is different. This tank is different. This one directly harvest. This is a smaller tank. The other tank is a big tank where they use the pump to pump it up. Okay. Now, just for this thing, I show this one. The cost. They sent an email to me. I just paste it here. Self-explanatory. This is the explanation, I think. So, what's your answer for it? Because I'm sure you can collect millions of liters of rainwater around here to into the swimming pool.
Okay. Swimming pool water, I think some of the girls may actually swallow. But well, we can do that. What we're planning to do with the water from the lake, which we're harvesting from all the roofs and all the surface drain water, is to pump it back for landscaping purposes. And if we have more, then we can use it for flushing as well, and for toilets. But I think for the swimming pool, we can add chlorine to it so that it's clean and everything. But what actually helps with a lot of savings is to use it for landscaping. Yeah, because there's no point bringing water from Shabas or JBA towards all your plants, since we've got such a big, huge body of water behind, and we can nourish the incoming supply as well.
So, Mr. Farid, what you're saying that is all in the pipeline. It's a matter of time.
No.
Most of the water is already going there. From there, you'll pump it up mostly for landscaping.
Yeah, in fact, the pump house is completed.
Okay.
Everything's ready to go except for a distribution board to bring in supply of electricity. So everything's there.
Okay.
We just turn it on once the supply is in. So when that happens, we'll be able to recirculate water around the campus, hopefully with nutrients from the composting that we're doing as well.
Just a matter of kind of committee formalities. It's the job of the chair to realise when everybody's feeling a little bit tired and to round the meeting off.
Maybe because there hasn't been enough discussion.
It's quite an important job for the chair. If you've been to a few meetings, you'll know that.
It's kind of rude too.
Well, yeah, but I think it's not considered rude if you're the chair of a committee. It's considered quite an important job, actually. So, if you, I mean, you want to thank the
just we all give a round of applause for all of them for coming here all the way from nowhere, all the way to Sepang. And thank you so much for answering all the questions and giving us knowledge for today. But I have a feeling that all the girls are quite tired because they've been studying.